Good morning, everyone, and welcome to World Pest Day. For those of you who are joining us live today, just want to introduce myself. I am Niall Gallagher. I am the Technical and Compliance Manager at the British Pest Control Association. Happy World Pest Day. Thank you for joining us on our World Pest Day forum. If you could let us know in the chat where you're from. We've seen quite a few people from all over the place at the moment. We've got some people in from Gibraltar, Norfolk, Northumberland. I think we saw Scotland on there as well, Newcastle, oh, Devon. So someone's from my area of the woods as well. Come along, let us know where you're from. Yeah, great. Welcome to have you. Really happy to have everyone here today. Just want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, Pelsis, today. So Pelsis are sponsoring our World Pest Day Forum. So we're going to have a talk from them later on as well. So we're going to do a very quick rundown of the agenda today. So we're going to start it off on the complete other side of the world. We're going to go down under with European wasps with Mr. David Priddy from Sundew. We're going to be bringing it back to the UK with Stephen Seam from Seam Pest Control, who's going to be doing us a talk around proofing for pest control. We're going to stop for a quick break, and then we're going to take it over to John Stewart from Pelsis, where hopefully it's only cockroaches who are going to get caught in traps. And then we're going to finish it over on the other side of the pond with Mr. Brandon Runyon from the USA. And he's going to be doing a talk around servicing in the US and how that looks different to how we do it in the UK. And then we're going to tidy up at the end with a talk from our new Chief Executive, Rosina Robson. So she's going to do some association news and industry updates with us. So again, those of you who registered, your CPD points will automatically be added. If you have multiple people around the screen, I do believe that we saw a few people who are all sat around together. Make sure everyone's got a record of who's there. You may have to self-log it if you haven't all logged in individually. And again, if you're watching this back, whether through YouTube or through our website, you'll just need to add your bits and pieces on as well. Again, I can see everyone's using the chat function extremely well. It's extremely busy. Or chat, talk amongst yourselves. However, at the bottom of your screen, you will see a Q&A section. So if you do have any questions for our speakers at the end, please make sure you put the questions in the Q&A section, chat in the chat section. It would be great to see some really good questions. Just want to mention our charity Trussell Trust. As an association, we do support Trussell Trust, and they have food banks all over the UK. And obviously, we will, all donations are gratefully received. So if you ever come to the office, we do have a donation pot there as well, if you're coming up for meetings or training or exams, or if you wish to donate in any other way. And just to make a note, we've got a couple of events coming up. If you are around the Birmingham area, come look at joining us for a beer and a curry on the 19th of June. So come along, meet the team. We'll all be there, and come join us for a beer and a curry, if that is what you like. And after that, we have a guest webinar on insecticide formulations and applications by Mr. Alex Wade, and that's going to be on the 2nd of July. So I'm not going to hang around any longer, so I would like to invite Mr. David Priddy from Down Under to come up and do a talk for us on European wasps.
Thank you very much for that, Neil. Hopefully I am on screen and working. And I will now share. Thank you for the opportunity to present on World Pest Day. Welcome, everyone. My name is David Priddy. I am the owner of Sundew Solutions. We're an Australian-based company based in Melbourne. We have been in operation since 2009 here in Melbourne. Prior to Sundew Solutions, I used to work for Bayer, well known for their pesticides. We do research and development. We develop pesticides for the professional pest control market here in Australia. We supply our chemicals to wholesalers that on-sell to resellers to the pest controllers. We've been involved, or I've personally been involved with European wasps the last 22 odd years. Being here in Melbourne, we're in kind of ground zero, surrounded by European wasps. So we're talking about Vespia germanica. It's native to Europe, Asia, and North Africa. It was first detected in Tasmania in 1958. And in the 60s and 70s, it spread across to South Australia and West Australia, New South Wales and Canberra. It's a very aggressive wasp here in Australia because of our milder conditions, our warmer conditions. They're very aggressive. They're more aggressive than our native wasp species. Because of our warmer conditions that we have here in Australia, the nests, and because there's also no natural predators to them, the nests can become quite large. They become the size of a small vehicle inside, roof voids with members, anywhere up to 100,000 or more members in a colony. They're a declared pest in West Australia and Canberra. So, we'll talk a little bit, have a look at the map here in a second. So they first arrived, these red spots are the hot spots where they've really established and they're widespread and they're a major pest. So they're prevalent in those areas. Tasmania down south, like I said, was where they first came into Australia and have spread further north and east and west. In Perth, they're present. They're not considered established, but they have a program over there to trap and locate and destroy nests. I'll talk a bit about that a little bit later on some slides. And they have been found further north in Karratha and in Brisbane. They're an occasional detection. So they're slowly moving further north. As I mentioned earlier, our warmer conditions are really working in with their habits. We're actually finding nests are overwintering. They're not dying, as you see in European conditions. So that's our European wasp that you'd be familiar with. In Australia, identification can be quite confusing for homeowners and for pest controllers. So we have a number of other wasps, bees, native flower wasps. When you have these things moving through the air at 3 feet per second, it can be very confusing. So we have a lot for the pest control industry. It can be a bit of a nuisance because we get calls from consumers saying that they have European wasps, and the pest control will go out to the site and find out they actually haven't. It'll be a native wasp. We have a native a paper wasp, an Australian paper wasp, and there's also a Asian paper wasp we have. But these are quite often reported. Probably easily half the reports are not European wasps, so it can be really confusing and challenging for our industry. The other thing that we have is misunderstanding by pest controllers themselves. They'll see European wasps, so you'll have your worker wasps here, your typical sterile females, non-reproductives. You have your males and females. Pest controllers, I'll get calls from pest controllers saying, oh, there's some really big wasps getting around at the moment. And what they're actually seeing is male and female reproductives. So I do a lot of education, getting them to identify, pest controllers to identify females and males, which is important about, you'll see that with some of our latest slides about these solutions that we've developed here in Australia. These are reproductives. We have female reproductive queens here and males. So we try to teach our pest controllers about the males being a lot longer and slimmer looking in body shape. And then they have long wispy antennas, which they use for locating females.
David, sorry to interrupt you. There's a grey bar that keeps moving around the screen, and it's in front of you, some of your slides that people have noticed. I don't know if it's your control bar that you could minimise. It's that bar there, yeah.
Oh, this bar here?
Yeah, it keeps popping up. It was at the top and now it's at the bottom. I don't know if it's your controls, but it's just, yeah, that one. It's just blocking your slides. I don't know if you can move it off screen at all.
How can I get rid of that?
There's a minimize option. Sorry, we've got quite a few people just mentioning it's blocking.
Yep. How do I minimize? Try to see how to minimize that. I can't see where to get rid of this.
We can't see what's on there. We can only see a grey scaled out box on the screen.
Yeah, I can't.
Does it let you drag it out off onto the right hand side, maybe, so it just doesn't block the slides?
Yeah, it won't let me go off the screen.
It may be better up at the top if that only blocks your top.
Okay.
And people can see the
Okay.
content at least.
Yeah.
Is
Is that better?
Yeah, there are a few people asking. Maybe we could share the slides afterwards. So if you're happy to do that, then we can.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, no worries.
But yeah, if it's at the top, then at least it's just hiding your banner and you can talk away. Sorry to interrupt.
Yep. No worries. Thank you. So the impacts of European wasp, I can talk all day about this. I'll just use a couple of examples. So this photograph here is actually of a young lass named Evie Clark, 7-year-old girl, who in 2019 stumbled across a nest in a public park. She was stung over 200 times. The poor lass, she's okay. She survived, but at the time, onlookers had to rescue her from the wasps. They had to use a little hand vacuum to suck wasps out of her mouth, ears, and nose. In Australia, in the last 20 years, we've had 7 deaths attributed to European wasps. So these social impacts are quite significant. Economic. Probably the viticulture market is the most significant impacted with European wasps. In Tasmania, they estimate it to be between 10 to 20% of yields of crops are lost attributed to European wasps, affecting the crops. They sting the workers. They're a huge impact in the economic side of things. And then there's obviously the environmental impact of European wasps. In areas where they establish that I've been out into, you can see very clearly that they take out all the native insects. The area will be devoid of flies, moths, butterflies, crickets. They'll take out everything and it'll just be quiet and you'll only hear the buzz of European wasps. So the traditional treatment methods used by pest management professionals in Australia is direct nest treatment. So a nest is identified, a pest controller will go out, he'll put on his bee suit and he'll use one of 3 types of treatment methods. He'll do an insecticidal dust. Here we have in Australia, we have permethrin talc-based dust that they'll put through an insecticidal duster, a blower into the nest. Once the European wasps are dead, they'll dig up the nest, exhume the nest and dispose of it. Similarly, they'll use aerosols. This aerosol here is a propoxy tetramethrin butoxide 3-way mix. It's used, quite popular for European wasps. And then there's liquid treatments where they'll make up a spray. And this one here is a bendiacarb wettable powder that pest controllers use for European wasps. So that relies on the nest to be found and treated. As far as the public goes, consumers go, there are a number of traps that are available in retail. So there'll be the traditional bottle trap, and inside of those bottle traps, they'll use improvised or they'll use yeast-based products to attract European wasps in. The other method that used by consumers is direct spraying at night. So we have quite a few social media pages where there are actually dedicated groups to European wasps in Australia. So homeowners will go out and put red cellophane over the end of a torch and spray with different aerosols. There is reporting avenues. As mentioned in West Australia, they have the government over there have an adopt a trap program. So this here on the left-hand side is a trap that they give to the public, and the homeowners will put in some white fleshed fish and attract the wasps in. When they actually start seeing wasps, they'll contact their local authority. They'll come out and they'll use the flight path of European wasps to go and locate the nest and treat it directly. And then there's improvised baits. Again, in social media, there's a lot of improvised baits where homeowners will use typically things like either cat or dog food, and they'll mix in with that a flea insecticide. It'll be a fipronil or a imidacloprid-based off-label use. And then on the right-hand side, you can see here they mix up sugar and water and soap and yeast and try and catch things in. So there's a lot of improvised baits. So there traditionally hasn't been a lot of really effective solutions. As I said, we're an Australian family business. It's my own business, and invasive species is something that I am quite passionate about. And European wasps is one of the first areas that we started developing solutions for. So we have a two-pronged approach when addressing European wasps here in Australia. We have a trapping methodology part of our program, and then we do remote baiting, where we make up a toxicant that we put out that European wasps will feed on and take back to the nest. When we started developing this strategy for European wasps that didn't rely on directly locating and treating the nest, we wanted to do trapping for a number of reasons. We'll cover that. But the interesting thing for us is that when we started, our company as a chemical company, making traps wasn't part of our business model. We were hoping that we could use something off the shelf. So we actually sourced all the different kinds of traps that are typically find around the place locally and overseas. And what we found is we got inconsistent results using these traps to do what we were trying to achieve. So in the end, and in frustration, we had to end up developing our own trap. Up the top here on the left, second from the left, there's a yellow trap, dome trap. That's probably the most common type of trap that's used here in Australia. What we found with traps like this is that European wasps would come in and would feed on the different baits that we'd put in there. They'd fly to the top of the trap. Once they got exhausted, they'd actually drop straight back out the hole, and they'd actually learn how to get in and out of these traps. We tried modifying traps. You can see some different modified versions where we've put in extra cones. But the most effective trap we found was this one on the bottom right, which was one we got from the adopted trap that you would have seen earlier. We found that was the most effective, and we used that to model to make our own dominator traps, which we'll talk about in a second. The second part of our program that we use, other than trapping, is the actual baiting part. And these are tunnels that we've designed to hold a bait toxicant. The interesting thing here is we've got 7 different tunnels. The prime season or prime time here in Australia for baiting is a 3-month window. So every one of these tunnels is a tunnel that we've tested for a season, modified and gone back and made an improved tunnel, tested the next season. So that shows 7 years of succession to come up with the final tunnel that we use in our baiting for European wasps. So the actual trapping part, we have these traps that we've designed ourselves here in Australia, and we make those here. We call them our Vespex Dominator bottle trap. And in those, we have a lure, a liquid carbohydrate product that we use. So this is a non-toxicant. It's purely a lure. It has a bee repellent in it, so it repels bees. And this is put in the bottle traps. European wasps are attracted to it, get in, and they can't escape the trap. So the traps, we use them in several ways. We actually have what we call the Vespex accredited specialists, and we'll talk about that in a couple of slides. But trapping is used in several key ways. We use our bottle traps in sensitive areas. There are occasions where we have customers who don't want toxicants or pesticides put into an environment, so we use it purely for trapping. We use it to monitor for pest occurrence. One of our personal beliefs is we don't like putting toxicants into an environment when unnecessarily, so we use it to monitor and trap European wasps, and at that stage we come up with a strategy. We use it for directionally targeting of treatments. So we'll put our bottle traps out in like grid patterns around a structure. So for example, think of a north, south, east and west on a building. we'll put traps out, and when we get European wasps, they typically won't come from all directions. They'll come from a particular direction, and at that stage, we'll put in a baiting program at that one point, rather than putting toxicant into multiple places, or for no reason. A big part of our strategy is reduction of the biomass of queens. So we do a lot of trapping of queens at the beginning of the season when they come out of hibernation. And we do trapping again at the end of season when the queens, when they have mated and before they go into hibernation. This is an important part of our strategy, reducing the biomass of the next season. I've got a video at the end that I would like to share from a news report that talks about the biomass of queens that have been caught in success. Our remote baiting, as I said, remote baiting is carried out by a Vespex accredited specialist. Because we're making up a toxicant, it's not something that we want consumers playing with. So it's only done by a professional pest controller, a licensed pest controller, or landowners that have a property over 5 acres in size. So we do baiting when the nests, you can't obviously treat them, or you can't locate the nests. We use baiting when there's a large biomass present, and it's a really effective way to reduce a big population quickly. This baiting process typically will create colony collapse in less than 14 days. So this is our baiting in progress. How is it done? We create a toxicant using the same lure, so our European wasp lure that we use in the dominator traps to lure them in and trap. We actually mix that with an insecticide. So here in Australia, we have a product called Ensnare Pro. It's indoxacarb. It's a 5% or 50 gram per litre formulation. It's usually used for ants, spiders, ants, roaches, flies, fleas, and wasps. So indoxacarb is a non-repellent insecticide. We mix that together to form a bait. The mix ratio is 100 mils of our liquid lure. We add 1 mil of the 5% indoxacarb to that to form a liquid bait. For anyone wondering, we have kits that we give. It looks messy, but we have a kit that we supply that has everything in it that a pest management professional needs to do a baiting program. So these tunnels, they're designed, they're flat packed. They come as a flat sheet, a little bit of origami to fold it into a station. We have a bait holder that the toxicant is put into once it's mixed. And then it's deployed on either stakes. There's holes on the side, cable ties can be put into trees, poles, fence posts around the property, very versatile. On the side, we have a recording process here where pest controllers can put in dates. They can observe the bait level and monitor for the decline and effectiveness of the treatment program. Our Dominator bottle traps have also designed to not only be a bottle trap for trapping, but the cones that go in the side here that stop the wasps from escaping can be removed. And this can be used when you have really large populations, biomass of European wasps, and you need to put a lot of bait out. When you get large numbers, you can actually, the little bait holder in a tunnel holds between 20 to 30 mils. When you get a lot of wasps in there, they can empty that very quickly. So there are situations where you've got large biomass, or the pest controller can't get back there for a couple of days to refill it. You can actually use these Dominator traps as a baiting station. So the strategy that we essentially have here, our program in Australia, we recommend putting out our traps to trap queens emerging at the beginning of spring and at the end in autumn before they go into hibernation. They're used throughout the season to monitor and to work out when to implement and where to put baiting. And then the baiting is done throughout the season when there's pests present and you've worked out a location to treat. We formalised this VESPEX into a VESPEX accredited specialist. As I said, this is not meant to be something that consumers put out. So this is part of a stewardship program. We have an online training that's it's all automated that pest controllers can do at any time. They basically go in, complete the course. It takes about 2 hours to learn how to apply it, where to apply it, all of the tricks of the trade. They're issued with a certificate. We have a vespex.com.au, which is a consumer website. And these are just some of our VESPEX accredited. We've got hundreds of pest controllers that are approved across Australia. Homeowners can go in there and find their local VESPEX accredited specialist to come out and do their treatment for them. So some of the interesting learnings that we've had, 22 years of playing with European wasps, where pest controllers have done baiting and trapping, we've found that in a large area, we find that European wasps don't return to those areas for anywhere up to 3 years. And we hypothesize that it's because the queens, when they mate, aren't going very far. They're not flying very far from where they've actually mated. So we found very, very good success in eliminating and controlling for larger periods of time post-treatment. Less is more and more is less. We quite often have pest controllers that think that if we put more active ingredient, more of that indoxacarb, or use fipronil or use something else in there, if we put more in there, it'll work better. We actually find that by increasing the rate or going outside of the recommended rate, that it controls the European wasp too quickly, and we don't get recruitment back to the nest, and it takes longer to eliminate the colony. And the more is less statement there. Putting out a single station is not effective. Doing more stations in a flight path is critical to getting recruitment and colony elimination. Some of the other interesting findings we've had is European wasps, when they're first establishing and building their nest, they'll collect fibers off of fences and buildings and outhouses. So actually treating those with a non-repellent pesticide like an indoxacarb or fipronil at a low rate actually is effective in colony control. So this is not an approved process. This is something we're doing research into. And interestingly, applying the same process in Australia here, we have some conifers that secrete sappy residue from their foliage, and also there's aphids and things that have honeydew that they secrete. We found that treating those with a non-repellent is also effective in the early stages when the wasps are building up their numbers. Another learning observation is something a product that might work flawlessly abroad can be a flop down under. So we've had products that we've tested for European wasps in New Zealand that work absolutely amazing. And then we bring them here into Australia and test them here in Australia, and they just don't work. And a lot of this comes down to it's the same species, it's the same European wasp, but the difference comes down to environmental. Being a lot drier here in Australia, there's a bigger preference for liquid type baits rather than gel or solids. Nests are overwintering here in Australia. It's a lot warmer here than in Europe. I mentioned right at the very beginning, we're getting nests the size of small cars in subfloors and then roof voids. As European wasps move further north, it's a lot warmer. And the fear is that we're going to have European wasps all year round in some places. We're doing a lot of research here presently on ready-to-use baits and solutions for pest management professionals and for consumers. And we've got some ongoing work looking at the effects of, and we're investigating colour and European wasps and other non-target pests. Questions?
Wonderful. Thank you very much. So we do have a question, but I'm going to break it down into a couple of points because it's quite a large question. So are you having problems with Asian hornets in Australia? So by Asian hornets, I'm going to assume what we refer to them as yellow-legged or Vespa veltina. So is that something that you've had come across yet in Australia?
Um, I would no, I can't say that. We have the Asian paper wasp, which is I'm not sure what that species is. It is a very aggressive version, and it is a problem in Australia.
One
Now,
that
is that the same one?
potentially. No, I think no. So we have like the Asian yellow-legged hornet.
Oh,
It's
hornet. Sorry,
different.
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
different to what the
Yep.
Americans had, which was the murder
No, we
hornet,
don't
which
have.
is like the giant eight, which is Vespa mandarinia, I believe,
That's right. Yeah.
is a scientific name. So no, we have
Yep.
Vespa velutina.
No.
Everyone gets to watch me butcher two languages today. So, so
Yeah.
that's fine.
Yes. No.
No,
Not an issue as far as I'm
no,
aware. No.
that's fine. So have you noticed that is there any resistance or behavioural changes? So as you're treating these European wasps, are you finding that they're starting to begin to adapt to what you're putting out?
Yeah, we learn every year. Every season we see different behaviour, and I take it back. You try and learn something every year, and I think it comes back to like a lot of seasonality. We started developing, trying to develop bait solutions that were gels. That's a traditional thing that we do in pest control is put out gels, and we've had gels that, like I mentioned, worked really well in New Zealand. Tried to do it in Australia, it didn't work, and it was kind of by accident we stumbled across this liquid concept that we've done, and that worked really well. We've now got gels that we're working on, and when you have a wetter season, they seem to work. So we are having to adapt. I wouldn't say there's any like resistance or changes. I think it's changes is probably around behavior and also the seasonality and what they're feeding on. So we found that the carbohydrate liquid lure works really well. It's a kind of a consistent things. The adult wasps, they need carbohydrates. That's kind of their rocket fuel that they run on. The larvae need protein. So the wasps will bring back meat and insects and dead carrion, etc., that they feed to the larvae. So we're finding a lot of things. I've got this theory about nest imbalances that we see when the adult wasp will go away from liquids, when you have a lot of adults dying and you have more larvae in the nests, so you have an overabundance of carbohydrates. So the carbohydrate lure from time to time, our liquid lure, all of a sudden they won't go for it, and it could be a natural event where there's a change, a drop in temperature, and you get a large loss, or you get a heap of rain, you get a lot of adults dying. There's a lot of work we're doing around nest imbalance and changes of habits and what they're actually going for. So I think
No, I
a
mean
lot of
yeah, that's good. That's really interesting actually. I think it's something that, like
yeah,
in the UK we'd benefit from quite heavily as well, because usually for us it's end of July is when we'll start to see that switch from a protein food, and that's when they start going out and getting drunk
yep,
on apples and all that sort of stuff.
yeah, yeah,
Um, So we had another question here as well. So the measurable impact on like your native bee species and your fruit and crop production. I know that New Zealand had issues as well, especially from a conservation standpoint with European wasps, predating a lot of their native insects. Are you finding the same issue in
yep,
Australia as well?
yeah, yeah. They absolutely smash all our native insects, and then there's a huge impact, probably more noticeable on our honeybees. So our honeybees, you've got native honeybees, and you've got your European honeybees, which is what we use our pollinators here for our crops, for our orchards, etc. I've seen it documented here where where it's been said that one European wasp can kill 40 honeybees in a day. I've personally seen European wasps just pull honeybees apart, so they'll be competing on a. I've got acreage and I've got an orchard down the back, and I've seen the honeybees on the nectarine tree, and you'll get European wasps come and they'll just absolutely pull them apart on the spot, competing for the flowers. Yeah, there's definitely a huge impact. I've seen areas where you'll go to a 5 acre block and there'll be 20 or 30 European wasp nests in that small area, and you won't see any other insects. And they just take everything out. So yeah, I know that they get into kind of a gory topic. Yeah, any kind of carcass. So if a kangaroo dies, and normally you would have like your native flies and other things that would lay their maggots, lay their eggs in there, and they would develop. European wasps will outcompete. The first thing that'll be on the spot when something dies will be a European wasp, and then they'll just keep everything else away from it. So there is some documented research that's been done in Australia around that, and it has been demonstrated that they outcompete those native insects and keep them away, and then that there will be an impact on those. So,
Well,
yeah,
so yeah,
good question.
Yeah, so it really does affect basically all life cycles, ultimately all parts of the environment. So yeah, they're really quite yeah, I didn't really understand the depth of the impact that they were having there.
Mm. When
So
they first came to Australia, they were a reportable species, and there was like a bounty on them when they first came, but they spread so quickly that it was abandoned. And I know even here in my time that I did in Victoria, when I first came here, it was a reportable species, and you could call your local council; they'd send somebody out for free. Now they don't do that anymore. It's up to home owners and pest controllers to do the treatments for everyone.
yes, we have a similar issue with the yellow-legged hornet in the UK. For us, that's reportable species, so we'd report that through to our Animal Plant and Health Agency, which I guess would be similar to your biosecurity and your sort
Yep.
of
Yep.
invasive species management. And then they will then send out their workers, and then they'll sort of do that. And so yeah, so it's similar. We've got similar systems, but
Mhm.
so with European wasps now, has it moved from a just control, or are we going back to a eradication? So i.e. we want European hornets removed completely from Australia. Is that the overall goal?
No, there really isn't a goal. It's very fragmented, which it is a bit disappointing. West Australia is a reportable, that's a reportable pest, and they're right onto it there with the Adopt a Trap program. Everywhere else, it's pretty much no one cares, which is it's a real shame. Given I mean, Australia is just so big. It would be it's not possible, I think, to eradicate European wasp. We've looked at we've talked with some local government and looked at programs on how we could actually do it, and the cost and scale of what would be needed to do is it's just beyond the resources, I think, unfortunately.
Yeah, I guess you've got quite a big landmass there as well, which isn't usually occupied as well in the middle of Australia. You've got obviously there, so you're going to get those small pockets where you're not going to necessarily get there.
Yeah.
Um, So we do have another question around treating specific plants. Could you sort of go into a little bit more detail about that? Are you sort of treating stems? Are you treating sort of underneath? Yeah, we just had a
Yep.
little bit more information if you can go into a bit more for that for
Yeah,
us.
yeah. So what we're doing there, this is it's off the label, so it's not an approved use. It's just an observation that we've had, and it's something we're doing some work on to look at approving. And I should say that the Vespex, where we're using the liquid lure that we're mixing with indoxacarb, is a Australian pesticide and veterinary medicine APVMA approved product. So pest controllers are doing that, and it's approved to do so. Yeah, the foliage is an interesting one because we've seen a relationship with aphids and European wasps feeding on the honeydew. They don't actually predate those aphids. So there's a big what they call a willow aphid, and then we see aphids on. I can probably share some photos later on if you want to share it with the group. I've got some photos of things like nectarines where they're on the getting into the aphids honeydew, not actually eating the aphids. But we found in those sort of situations actually treating the plants. The significant plant is conifers. So we have these conifer, probably more ornamental, because this is where pest controllers are seeing it. There's ornamental conifers that actually secrete like it's almost like a sappy fluid at certain times of, during summer when it's hot, they'll secrete this like a sap on their foliage. So it's the actual foliage, it's not the stems. And by applying a non-repellent, the guys are using things like either the indoxacarb or a fipronil product. They're actually using it at a low rate, getting recruitment back and taking out nests. So it's just it's kind of an observation, and that kind of also relates then to the early stages when they're building their nests. They'll scrape the timber fibers off of fences, etc. You'll see them trying to get the building materials for their outer nest. Same thing, spraying those with a non-repellent. We're observing those will take out nests early on in the season. So.
Yeah, well, no, that's really interesting. Now, we've had something similar in the UK. Well, again, on a willow tree, salix trees, you'll find that we'll get black fly on there, and the wasp will just come along, and again for us, treat the aphid, stop damage to the tree, and hopefully that breaks that cycle there. No, really appreciate you taking the time today. Obviously, appreciate it's late for you as well.
No worries.
Anything you can share with us would be great. Also, we've had loads of people asking for copies of your slides as well. It's been quite an interesting talk as well. Yeah,
I do have a video I wanted to show.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, we can get the video to work.
If I can get the video to work, okay. This is just a news report that was done in Canberra. So there's a pest controller there, did a program. The local council there got him to put out some dominator traps, and it was all about trapping wasps. It wasn't baiting. So he was trapping queens. And in this report, he talks about catching 1,100 queens. This was done in a 14-day period with just 20 of the dominator traps. So I will attempt to share this.
Keeping the sting out of spring.
It stops her from establishing nests. Once they establish nests, they can go on becoming a nuisance pest and also predatory pest on our native species.
The European wasp, especially pesky.
But not only do they prey on a large amount of insects, things like that, but that takes the food sources from our native species like other wasps or spiders, insects, and our birds as well.
A specialised non-toxic formula attracting queens when they emerge from hibernation, stopping them in their traps.
Carbohydrates is what they feed on, so they go for the traps where we put out in the areas that we have identified over the last couple of years that are our hotspots.
Each queen wasp able to produce 4,000 workers and an extra 1,000 next generation queens. 1,500 queens captured this season, stopping over 6 million other wasps from producing, with instances of stinging and removal requests both decreasing.
At the moment, our reporting to the hotline is down, so we do think it has had an impact on the amount of wasps that are out there.
The public encouraged to contact eWasp online or by the phone if they have a pesky issue. Montana Claire, Win News.
Well, wonderful, thank you for showing that, and it just shows the depth of it as well, and I think we can relate in the UK to the issues that we're having with invasive species as well. So yeah, just really want to thank you again for your time. If you wouldn't mind popping your email in the chat for us, that'd be great. I know that we've got a few people there who'd like to have a copy of your slides. And yeah, no, thank you again for taking the time out. I understand it's late for you. Obviously we're on for the next couple of hours, so feel free to hang around and watch the rest of it. And yeah, no, thank you again. See you soon.
No worries. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Thank you.